How's everyone doing today? It's your boy JJ Domination, and today we are here to react and for me to give my opinions on the Packers versus Bears Week 1 takeaways. So I did like a little bit of like a notepad, I guess you can say, and I kind of just wrote down my thoughts. So it's not really going to be too deep. It's just how I feel about certain aspects of that game. I plan on doing this for every Thursday night game, kind of giving it its own spotlight, since I really don't do much else with the Thursday night games other than, make a video about it and give my thoughts on the post game, because I really don't include it in my predictions. I don't really include it in my Fantasy Football Fridays either. So I figured, I have to give it its own spotlight. So I figured for every Thursday night game I will be doing this. I didn't just do it because it was the Green Bay Packers. So, I'm just going to go ahead and shut that theory down real quick, because that's not why I did it. But let's go ahead and get into it. As you can tell, my allergies still killing me, but here I am trying to power through and make the best possible content that I can based on my limited resources and me being sick. So here we go. One of my biggest takeaways, which is why I have it listed towards the top, both offenses have a lot of work to do. The Packers are in basically a brand new offense with Matt LaFleur. It's similar to Tennessee's offense, except you have Aaron Rodgers and not Marcus Mariota as your quarterback. And also, it's a completely new staff. You don't have Derrick Henry in your backfield. You have Aaron Jones, which it's not a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying it's different moving parts. And you're implementing a new offense to an entirely different staff, and you expect them to come out against one of the best defenses in the NFL and just be able to put 30 points on them. I don't really think that's how it works in the NFL. Maybe in a different sport you could do that. You can't get away with that in football. But then you look on the other side, the Chicago Bears offense was just terrible. And it's not like they couldn't do certain things either. A lot of the plays that they had drawn up and designed, if you go back and look at the film, they actually look very promising. It's just, we'll get into that later. But the execution just wasn't really there for either side. Only one touchdown scored, and that was from Jimmy Graham, who scored a touchdown in the second quarter. But like I said, we're going to talk about more of those things in general. I just figured I'd start out with a very vague statement saying both offenses definitely have a lot of work to do, especially Chicago. But like I said, we're going to get into that right now. Mitchell Trubisky just isn't getting much better. This was a huge conversation over the offseason. People even had him in the top 10 for MVP conversation and betting odds, and I'm trying to figure out where all this stuff came from. And to be honest, you can go back to the 2017 class for quarterbacks, and you can catch my opinions, man. I was not that high on Mitchell Trubisky. I never really was. Some of his college tape wasn't bad. It was actually good. But I was just never really sold on him. In my opinion, it was how much more can he actually improve? And we are finding out firsthand that not really a whole lot. He missed a lot of throws, man. A lot of throws that other quarterbacks that we'll talk about on Tuesday were able to make with their eyes closed. It was just ridiculous. But, you don't want to overreact to Week 1. I'm just going to go ahead and get it out of the way right now. It's Week 1. Don't overreact to everything you see. But also, on the flip side, a lot of the things that you saw, that's not the definition of your team. That's not the identity of your team. That one game doesn't define your team. Now that all the ranting about Week 1 is out of the way, let's get serious and talk about Mitchell Trubisky. Regardless of if it's Week 1, Week 10, Week 16, Week 17, Week 8, Week 3, it just doesn't matter. Trubisky's in his third year in a second-year offense that was top 10 in running the ball last year, and they couldn't run the football against Green Bay, okay? That's just what it comes down to. Last season, Green Bay was 21st in run defense, 5 yards worse than the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were 18th in run defense and actually isn't that bad of a defensive staff. Green Bay added a bunch of moving pieces on defense, which we're going to talk about them more later, because they all basically came to play and made big plays for the defense. But come on, man. There's no excuse for that. Green Bay has a lot of moving parts on its defense. You have, like, what, one or two moving parts on your offense? One due to injury, the other due to overshadowing the guy that you thought was going to be your lead back, which, again, we'll get into that later. But Trubisky just isn't getting much better. He's missing all the same throws he missed in his college film, in his first year, when he got to be a starter for half the season, in his second year. He's just not getting that much better. I mean, this was the year that people were projecting him to improve and get better, and all of a sudden he's an MVP caliber quarterback according to the masses. This is why I don't really use people's opinion on the internet or by Vegas or even the people on TV. It's good to have your own opinion and your own way of thinking. I mean, yeah, you will have the same opinions as some guys on TV or some dudes on social media. That's just how it's going to be. But don't fall into that trap, okay? I've seen enough Mitchell Trubisky to know that he's not going to get much better, okay? He's very limited in an offense where supposedly it's, centered around his skill set. I couldn't really tell in that game against Green Bay, but I also really couldn't tell last season when you had a 2-to-1 interception touchdown to interception ratio of 24 touchdowns to 12 picks. I really couldn't tell then, and the only reason Mitchell Trubisky made a Pro Bowl was because 8 other quarterbacks turned it down. If Trubisky would have turned it down, they would have gotten desperate and asked Jameis Winston to play at the frickin' Pro Bowl. So don't even give me Mitchell Trubisky made a Pro Bowl. Yeah, because 8 other quarterbacks said, nah, fam, we good. We about to have off-season surgery. Or we have bigger things to do, like play in a Super Bowl. Come on. Seriously? But that's enough shredding on Mitchell Trubisky in week 1 and just week 1 in general. This next one is going to be a little bit of an interesting take. I think David Montgomery should be the lead back in Chicago. Not saying that he should be taking carries or taking snaps away from Tariq Cohen. He should definitely be taking a lot of the carries. If you want to establish the run, David Montgomery is the running back you want to do that with out of all the guys you have on your team, because David Montgomery, I know he didn't have the yards, and you look at the box score and he wasn't the greatest, man, but if you watch the film on David Montgomery in this game, he is very quick with his feet, man. He makes a lot of cuts up the field and to the side and everything that a lot of running backs just can't make, but he makes them look easy. So if you want to establish the run and you want Tariq Cohen and Mike Davis to feed off of it, I think David Montgomery has to be your lead back moving forward. And to be honest, this offense does have the potential. Mitchell Trubisky just has to get better. I think that's what it comes down to. But David Montgomery should be the guy getting the bulk of the carries. Now let's go to Green Bay for a second. I gotta say, man, the tight end play overall was pretty good. Of course, Jimmy Graham had a touchdown. Mercedes Lewis had one drop on a beautifully thrown ball from Aaron Rodgers, which was it was kind of like he threw it like a back shoulder fade type of throw, but it went through Mercedes Lewis's hands. But the tight ends played pretty well. I like the fact that we're using multiple tight ends and you have guys that bring different elements to the game. Like Robert Tonyan's more of your converted wide receiver to tight end type of dude. Mercedes Lewis is more of your blocking type, but he's a veteran and knows how to get open in those circumstances. And then you have Jimmy Graham, who is kind of like your veteran, former basketball player, jump ball specialist, and he showed a little bit of that in this game by getting that touchdown catch early in the second quarter. Speaking solely on Aaron Rodgers for a second, he was very hot and cold, but he made the plays when he needed to make them, and I think that's what it comes down to. He almost made a boo-boo, man. He was throwing a pass to Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He threw it too low, and yeah, I mean, we could have lost the game because of that, because it was in the 2-minute warning. The Bears were able to save a timeout. It was terrible. That was bad execution. And then he had a throw, I think, to Jimmy Graham. It was his first pass, and it hits Jimmy Graham's foot, but it hits the ground as well. And Roquan Smith almost had a pick six on his first pass attempt, which could have been very dangerous. I'm glad that didn't happen for my sake, because a lot of people, including Skip Bayless, are saying the only way they're going to score a touchdown is on defense. which is hilarious because they almost did. Devontae Adams was getting double teamed and even at times triple teamed. There's this like viral clip going around where Aaron Rodgers basically overthrew Devontae Adams because of the triple coverage, but it left Jimmy Graham as basically the second option, if not the number one option. Devontae was just seeing a lot of double teams and even at times triple coverage, man. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous, but Devontae Adams just burns everyone, so it kind of makes sense. And I'm not even saying everyone to be like dramatic, like he burns everyone one-on-one. But hell, I mean, if that's what it takes to get him out of the game, then yeah, you know, we're not going to let Adams beat us. You're going to have to beat us with Jimmy Graham or Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and that's exactly what they did. Even Jamal Williams was able to make plays. So yeah, they took away Adams and other guys stepped up, and that's what you want to see happen if you're a Packer fan. Let's see. Let's get into this Packers defense a little bit. Trust me, I have a lot more notes on the Bears, especially on defense. I have a lot of things to say about them on defense, but let's try to get through these notes swiftly. The Packers' defensive fronts were feasting. Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, Kenny Clark, and Montravius Adams were all just eating out there. It was something, you know, impressive, man. I mean, Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith alone had 16 quarterback pressures, and I can't remember how many sacks. I know they each got a sack. I think somebody may have been responsible for a half a sack. I think that was Preston Smith. When Kenny Clark got to him. But yeah, our defense had 5 sacks, but our defensive front was feasting. Montravius Adams was doing solid in the run game, but even when Tariq Cohen caught a couple of passes out of the backfield, he was chased down by Montravius Adams, who had to basically cover ground and go all the way to the other side of the field. But for those that don't know, Montravius Adams was a third-round pick, I believe, 3 seasons ago, or this is his 3rd season. And Mike Pettin said that, you know, out of all the guys at training camp, you know, he impressed me the most. He took the biggest jump. And that's good to hear. I mean, that's high praise, but I mean, a lot of guys get praise at training camp. You want to see it translate to the game, and for Montravius Adams, it did. And he looked very good. Played very well. Let's talk about the Packers secondary a little bit. Jair Alexander was great overall. Kevin King definitely impressed me as well. Tony Brown needs a little bit more time to improve, but damn, what the you know what I'm saying? Tramon Williams was very good. I mean, that dude just hopped in the fountain of youth and ended up playing his ass off. I mean, Jair Alexander is going to show, he continues to show the potential of him being a lockdown corner someday. I think he's already borderline there. We'll see what he does next week in his revenge game against Adam Thielen. Let's see. Yeah, Kevin King, man, wow. Healthy Kevin King has the potential to be a very good corner, a good number 2 corner for sure. He's got the size and the speed to match up against bigger receivers as well, which is why at times you saw him taking, you know, Cordell Patterson, Anthony Miller. I wish he would have lined up more on Allen Robinson because Tony Brown was getting picked on a little bit. Granted, he only gave up 2 big catches to Allen Robinson, but they both came at the expense of Tony Brown, which kind of sucks, but Tony Brown's a guy who's a very fast guy. You can put him on the boundary because he's like 5'11", you know, he's not like a 5'8" guy. Like, you can put him out there, but, you know, it's all good. I thought Tony Brown, outside of those 2 plays, was okay, but Tramon Williams played very well. You got to remember, when he became a starter, like, he did start at corner last year for Mike Pettin. It was his first time ever in that scheme. And then he had to play free safety because of injuries. He sucked at free safety, just fair to say. But he definitely found his rhythm again as a nickel corner, and he played pretty well. You know, I got to give him credit. He had a couple of penalties here and there, a couple of mistakes, but for a 36-year-old corner, I mean, god damn, he looked good. And, you know, I'm not even trying to overreact, but you have to give a dude credit if he plays well. You know, but don't read too much into it. I don't expect Tramon Williams to be a Pro Bowler or, you know, anything like that. I gotta give the dude credit for playing well. Lane Taylor, our left guard for Green Bay, he's ass. Can we just put Elton Jenkins in there already? I mean, he is just absolute dog shit. Lane Taylor sucks. There was some miscommunications as well, though, from the Bears' offensive line, but that's kind of a lame excuse. You know, there's going to be miscommunications all the time. There's going to be people who aren't able to pick up the blitz. But Kenny Clark was eating on James Daniels. He had a lot of pressure, stuffed the runs pretty well. James Daniels, of course, was a college center. Like, in college, he was a center. Last year, he was playing left guard for the Chicago Bears, and now they want him to play center. That's on the Bears. Keep him at guard. He was playing good. Cody Whitehair is a veteran. He's been around the block for a while, so him playing center and transitioning to guard isn't a big deal. But for a rookie entering a sophomore season, why are you even risking putting him at center? You know, like, he should be playing center if somebody gets hurt, not because he has to play center. You know, like, come on. Or not because you want him to play center. The Packers offensive line, they screwed up some assignments as well, though. Like, Billy Turner got, feasted on for a little bit. I thought Brian Bulaga played well against Khalil Mack. I mean, Khalil Mack was getting going early in the run game. Didn't really do much in pass rush other than get some pressures, which for him that's good because Khalil Mack is an elite pressure artist, but I don't even think he sacked Aaron Rodgers, and if he did, I might have missed it. I watched the entire game. I didn't really see Khalil Mack sack him. I saw Roquan, I saw Leonard Floyd, and Aaron Lynch. Leonard Floyd, by the way, looked very good. He bull rushed David Bakhtiari bad one time. I mean, that was the first time I've seen Bakhtiari in a while just get bullied. But Roquan Smith, we talked about him getting some sacks as well. He looked like a completely different player this season to start things out. Remember last season he had a slow start and people were like, oh, I mean, he may not be as good as advertised and blah, blah, blah. Well, he missed a lot of time in training camp and preseason because of a contract dispute in his rookie deal. Some of the incentives to him were kind of whack. But Roquan looks like a different player. He's flying around the field. He's making big plays. He looks like an all-pro linebacker. And it's going to be interesting to see how good he is this season. Akeem Hicks, he should be double-teamed like every play when you run the football. He is a beast. He is just a difference maker. And what about Roy Robertson Harris? I mean, I thought Bilal Nichols was going to be the guy to step up. But damn, Roy Robertson Harris was just a beast, man. And you could play him anywhere. And he seemed to be pretty damn good anywhere you put him. So, shout out to him for sure. Let's see. It looks like we're going to have to file a missing report on Eddie Jackson because I didn't see much of him. The only play I saw from him is when he got hurdled by Jimmy Graham. But where was he? All this talk about Eddie Jackson, he only Earl Thomas covers more ground than him, and top 3 in the game, and no. Okay, pump the brakes. Eddie Jackson is definitely top 5 to top 7. When has he entered Earl Thomas conversation? Do y'all forget how good Earl Thomas is? And we'll talk about that more Tuesday. Do people forget how good Earl Thomas is? The dude had a broken leg last year. Spoiler, he had a broken leg last year, and he got an interception, like, yesterday as of recording. Come on now. I didn't hear or see anything out of Eddie Jackson. It's one game. I think he's going to have a great season, but I just have to point that out. In a game where the Packers are running a new offense, they're going to struggle. And, in a game where, like, the Bears' defense is, like, the bread and butter of the team. They were number 1 last year, and they look like they're on pace to possibly be number 1 again. Like, where was your star safety? Oh, Adrian Amos, the security blanket, the guy that made life easier. Yeah, he's not there anymore. You have HaHa Clinton Dix, who isn't going to, do all of the little things to make Eddie Jackson look even better than he is. No offense to Eddie Jackson. I'm just calling it like I see it. The safety play from Green Bay, though, is terrific. I mean, Darnell Savage, he broke on, like, every ball that was in his area. And he looked very good. He didn't get an interception. Probably should have had one, but I think he dropped it. But Darnell Savage broke on, like, every pass that came in his way. Showed elite pursuit. But he sells hard on his blitzes, though. When you see him wanting to blitz off the edge or blitz a certain area, I mean, he sells hard. Like, you know he's blitzing, and you could just tell the running back to pick him up. That's one thing he's going to have to fix. I mean, Mike Pettin likes to blitz, and he likes you to know, basically, like, oh, you never know, like, who we're going to blitz. Well, whenever Darnell Savage blitzed, you kind of knew he was blitzing because he sold hard, especially when on the fake hikes and stuff. Like, he sold hard, man. But it didn't matter because Trubisky's just ass, and that's just how it is. But Adrian Amos, though, with the perfectly timed interception, ironic enough, the former Chicago Bear picked off his old quarterback, you know, before the 2-minute warning to basically seal the deal. But I tell you what, man, Green Bay played very well. Now, Green Bay beat Chicago last season, okay, to start their year. They went 6-9-1. I think this Packers team is different. I'm interested to see what the offense looks like. To me, it's going to take a little bit. You're playing Minnesota next week. Their defense is no slouch. You saw what they did to Atlanta. We're going to be playing Denver. I expect their defense to be pretty damn good this year. Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, I mean, that's going to be a handful. You go from Khalil Mack and Leonard Floyd to Danielle Hunter, Everson Griffin to Von Miller, Bradley Chubb. I mean, good luck, Green Bay. I mean, I love David Bakhtiari, but he's in for a night, or he's in for a couple of weeks. And same thing with Brian Bulaga. You know what I'm saying? So it's just going to be interesting. Overall, I don't think this 3-point performance defines the Chicago Bears offense. I also, despite me ripping on Mitchell Trubisky, I actually don't think he's as bad as people are making him out to be. Some people are really calling this man Blake Bortles. I wouldn't go that far yet, but it definitely does remind me of the 2018 Jags, who, remember, they played in an AFC championship. A lot of people had them going there next year, and they just fell off the face of the earth. I think the Bears are too good to fall off the face of the earth. You know, like, yes, I didn't predict them to be a playoff team, but honestly, like, if you look at all the teams that I left out, like the 3 that just didn't make the cut, they could all go 10-6, 9-7. I just don't have them going into the playoffs. The Bears to fall off the face of the earth, Khalil Mack would have to get hurt, Roquan would have to get hurt, Kyle Fuller would have to miss time, Mitchell Trubisky would actually have to be Blake Bortles. And, you know, you have an injury to Tariq Cohen and David Montgomery and Allen Robinson. I mean, this team is a lot better. You know, not a lot better than Jacksonville, but, you know, the staff is just better. Like, yeah, they don't have Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Boye, but they're still pretty better. In my opinion, they're a better staff. You know what I'm saying? Because they have better pass rushers. And the safety play, I mean, Eddie Jackson's an upgrade over whoever they had at safety. So I don't think they're going to fall off the face of the earth and be the 2018 Jags, but it could definitely happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, it definitely could happen. But let me know down below how you guys felt about the Green Bay-Chicago game. Do you think Green Bay can get back into the playoffs? Do you think the Bears can still hang on to the NFC North? And what did you make from the quarterback's performances out there? How much do you take away from this game? Anyway, I'm going to be reacting to all of the Week 1 games in its own video. I'll try to be more, like, swift about it. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, man. Peace out.